The transfer portal is heating up for the Ohio State Buckeyes as we have more people leaving, more people coming in. We got some visits. It's absolutely madness, and we got to break it all down. What's up, guys? I'm Matt Long. Welcome to Columbus Football 365. If you're an Ohio State Buckeye fan, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps me out a ton. But let's jump right into the news for today, starting with some guys leaving the program. Let's start it off from Cleveland.com. Ohio State's Maxwell Roy has entered the transfer portal, according to a report from On3. He spent one season with the Buckeyes after signing as a four-star defensive lineman in the 2025 recruiting class. Roy is a product of St. Joseph's Prep in Philadelphia, who did not appear in a game for the Buckeyes this season. Now, Maxwell Roy was a defensive lineman. We are going to be losing him in the transfer portal. We brought in John Walker from UCF to, I'm not going to say help offset this loss because, Roy never made it in the game and John Walker is going to make it into the game, but it's starting to get at least a little bit worrisome just how many players we are losing to the transfer portal. And it didn't stop there, as there was a former five-star recruit that we lost to the transfer portal as well. Also coming from Cleveland.com, Quincy Porter is now the latest wide receiver to depart, joining Bryson Rogers and Mylan Graham. But this decision may be a little bit more impactful. It would not have been crazy to assume that Quincy Porter was in line to be a starting wide receiver for Ohio State in 2026, but now he won't even be on the roster. The five-star 2025 recruit spent his freshman season learning behind Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate, who has since declared for the NFL draft. Talking about Carnell Tate, Jeremiah Smith is back for 1 year, knowing that there would be a chance to win a starting job in year two. But Porter dealt with injuries all season, and that limited him to just 57 snaps in 4 games. He caught 4 passes for 59 yards. Now, I know wide receiver is one of the most entertaining positions for the Ohio State Buckeyes, especially with our history with Chris Henry Jr. coming in. Now Quincy Porter is going out. This is a loss that was not foreseen. This is a good player, someone that we were not expecting to lose, and tells us really that Chris Henry Jr. is expected to have a very large impact as a freshman. I know that the number one wide receiver recruit in the country should be expected to have a large impact on the program in year one, but I don't love putting that type of responsibility on the plate of a young kid. That's not the most fair position to be put in for Chris Henry Jr., but I mean, you're the number one overall recruit or your number one wide receiver recruit in the country. He will likely figure out a way to get that all worked out. But Quincy Porter is going to be out the door, but we're actually bringing in another wide receiver to help alleviate this loss. Coming from 24/7 Sports, the Buckeyes landed University of Texas San Antonio wide receiver transfer Devin McCuin on Wednesday, one day after standout freshman wide receiver Quincy Porter announced that he intended to enter the transfer portal. Ohio State badly needed wide receiver additions since it has lost 4 wideouts to the portal, including Mylan Graham, Porter, Demarion Witten, and Bryson Rogers. McCuin will have 1 season of eligibility remaining for the Buckeyes. In 3 seasons with UTSA, McCuin caught 152 passes for 1,696 yards and 16 receiving touchdowns. McCuin is a receiver for the Roadrunners, now coming in to Ohio State. Interesting because he's going to be the first guy coming in who is not going to have any connections to Brian Hartline. The loss of Brian Hartline to USF is without a doubt one of the main reasons why so many of these wide receivers are entering the transfer portal. That combined with Chris Henry Jr. coming in, these wide receivers that are lower down on the depth chart are reading the tea leaves, and they know there just aren't a ton of opportunities left for them. People are questioning whether or not Brandon Inniss is going to stick around with the program. I have heard absolutely nothing from credible sources that would suggest that he isn't, but you look up his name online, there are stories being floated around. I urge you, do not listen to anything talking about Brandon Inniss not being back with the Buckeyes. He should be absolutely back for next season. But let's talk about James McCuin. being rated by 24/7 Sports as the 73rd highest ranked player in the transfer portal, a 3-star transfer, rated as an 86 overall out of 100, overall the 361st ranked player. Not all of these guys can be absolutely top ranked guys in the transfer portal. That's just not how it works. There's only so much NIL money to go around. You have to pick your shots when it comes to how you add on to your roster, and Ryan Day and Cortez Hankton have decided that this is the right transfer to bring into the program. He stands 6 feet tall, 195 pounds, hailing from Jacksonville, Texas. James McCuin, welcome to the Ohio State Buckeyes. There's not really a starting role up for grabs, so you have to imagine that Cortez Hankton, Ohio State's wide receiver coach, envisions more of a gadget or more of a reserve / backup / rotational role for our guy here, McCuin. But now moving on to what we have next. It was tweeted out by more credible sources. I couldn't find the tweet. So we got it from the Buckeye Nut. Ohio State will host Alabama transfer defenders James Smith and Quay Russaw, longtime teammates dating back to their high school days. Smith, the top-ranked interior defensive lineman in the 24/7 Sports transfer portal. So Quay Russaw is the guy that is less exciting of these two guys if you are looking just at their 24/7 profiles. But the defensive coordinator for Alabama, Kane Womack, he said about Quay Russaw, he said that he is the most gifted linebacker off the edge that Alabama had. So this is someone that Ohio State still needs to be taking a close look at, even if he isn't as highly touted as James Smith is. We know we are going to be facing attrition at the defensive line positions, both at edge and defensive tackle. We got to beef up those positions. As I mentioned earlier, we're bringing in John Walker from UCF, but he can't do it by himself. Let's talk about what James Smith's profile brings to the table. 4-star transfer, rated as a 96, according to 24/7 Sports. The 8th overall recruit in the portal. Number 1 defensive lineman, 6'3", almost 300 pounds. Not as heavy as John Walker, but still a big dude. James Smith, a top recruit coming over from the Alabama Crimson Tide. It is very important that we are able to continue to add to that defensive line room. Last year, we lost so much talent to the NFL. This season, we are also going to be losing more guys to aging out or the NFL. We're going to see where these guys end up going. James Smith would be an absolutely amazing, although expensive, addition in the transfer portal to Ohio State's defensive line room. But we're talking about SEC transfers. We were talking about wide receivers earlier on in the video. There is a visit that I actually missed early on that I should have had a video out about. And that is coming from DeAndre Moore Jr. from Texas. For whatever reason, my little graphics in the background not cooperating with me right now, so we're going to have to take a look at him like this. DeAndre Moore visited Ohio State 3 days ago on either the 5th or the 6th. So the fact that he didn't sign with the Buckeyes by now, it's not a good look in terms of picking him up. The McCuin acquisition may have been something to cover up the fact that we did not get DeAndre Moore Jr. from Texas, but he is currently ranked as the 3rd highest rated wide receiver in the transfer portal by 24/7 Sports, the 14th overall player. This is a really good player. I do think we have invested enough in the wide receiver position, and I think he is kind of in like a weird spot where he isn't the game changer that Cam Coleman is, who is the number 1 wide receiver in the transfer portal and visiting Texas Tech, which scares me more than any other school a recruit could visit. But I think I am not super interested in investing in the wide receiver 3 at the price tag that DeAndre Moore is going to command. We got to be careful about where we are spending our money. And this, to me, isn't the guy that I want to be spending it on. But I said that I was going to be as absolutely comprehensive in the transfer portal coverage as I could possibly be. And this is someone that I should have talked about and actually missed it a couple days ago. So that is my apologies. But That's what I got for this video. If you stuck around this long, I appreciate you taking the time to watch it all the way through. Please hit that like button if you haven't already. Hit the subscribe button if you're new to the channel, and go Buckeyes.